Captain Nathan Cole stood at the command deck of the starship Pioneer, gazing out at the lush, green planet below. The planet, known as Elith, was uncharted until now, and the crew's mission was to make first contact with the alien species rumored to inhabit it. The air was thick with anticipation, and for the first time in his career, Nathan felt the weight of responsibility. It wasn't just about exploring new worlds anymore. This was the first time humanity would meet a species so different, so unknown. Approaching atmosphere. Captain, Lieutenant Sarah Benson's voice cut through his thoughts. Understood. Bring us in slowly, Lieutenant. Let's not rush this. Nathan's voice was steady, but the excitement in his chest betrayed him. He had trained for moments like this, but now that the time had come, his heart raced. There was no manual for what they were about to do. The ship descended toward the planet's surface, and the crew made their final preparations. Outside, the planet's towering trees swayed gently in the breeze. The air shimmered with a strange golden glow, as though the planet itself was alive. Nathan knew that the Elithians, the people they were about to meet, were said to be unlike anything humanity had encountered before. Tall, graceful, and as old as the stars themselves, they were rumored to have advanced technology far beyond Earth's. As the ship touched down, the crew's nerves were palpable. This was the moment, the one that would define their mission. Nathan gave one last look at his crew, young officers who had trained for years for this very moment, and nodded. They were ready. He could feel the weight of their trust in him. All hands. Prepare to disembark, Nathan ordered. The hatch opened with a soft hiss, revealing a vibrant world full of strange sounds and colors. The air was fresh, almost sweet, and the temperature was perfect. Nathan stepped out first, his boots crunching on the soil, and looked around. Tall trees with luminescent leaves towered over them, casting soft shadows on the ground. The sky above was a deep shade of purple, dotted with two suns, both casting warm golden light over the alien landscape. His crew followed him out, each member looking around in awe. The planet was unlike anything they had imagined, so peaceful, so serene. It was as if the world itself was waiting for them, ready to share its secrets. It didn't take long for the Elithians to appear. From the shadows of the trees, they emerged, moving with a quiet grace that seemed almost otherworldly. There were 5 of them, tall, slender figures with shimmering skin that reflected the light in a way that made them seem almost translucent. Their eyes, large and bright, seemed to glow with an inner light, and their movements were fluid, almost as if they were floating. The leader of the group stepped forward. She was taller than the others, her presence commanding, and yet there was a gentleness in her demeanor. Her face was both beautiful and haunting, with sharp features and soft curves that gave her an ethereal, almost angelic appearance. Her silver hair cascaded down her back, and her eyes, piercing and wise, locked onto Nathan's. Nathan felt a wave of awe wash over him. The stories of the Elithians had been true. This was no ordinary species. The woman before him seemed ancient, yet youthful, as though she held the secrets of the universe in her gaze. She raised her hand in greeting, her voice melodic and calm. I am Liara, Queen of the Elithians. Welcome to our world, Captain Cole. Nathan stood frozen for a moment, unsure how to respond. There was something about her, about them, that was both intimidating and captivating. He had met many leaders in his time, but none like this. There was a quiet power in the way she spoke, as though she was not merely a ruler but a force of nature itself. He cleared his throat and finally managed to speak. Thank you for welcoming us, Queen Liara. It's an honor to be here. His words felt inadequate in comparison to the beauty and majesty of the woman standing before him, but they were all he had. He couldn't help it. The Elithians were unlike any species he had ever encountered, and their beauty was beyond anything he had imagined. Queen Liara smiled, and for a moment, Nathan thought he saw a flicker of amusement in her eyes. You are not the first to praise our appearance, Captain. Many before you have found our form pleasing to the eye. Her voice was soft, almost as though she were speaking to herself, but Nathan couldn't help but feel a sense of warmth in her words. I must admit, you are unlike anything I've ever seen, Nathan said, perhaps a bit too honestly. Your people, your beauty is beyond words. He immediately regretted the words as soon as they left his mouth. The last thing he wanted was to offend her. He had read about the Ilithians, how they were a proud, dignified species who valued intellect and strength. Had he overstepped? But to his surprise, Queen Liara did not seem offended. Instead, she gave him a small, knowing smile, a glimmer of something almost playful in her eyes. "You are kind, Captain Cole. But beauty is not just in the eyes of the beholder. It is in the strength of one's heart, the clarity of one's mind, and the courage to see the world as it truly is." Nathan blinked, confused. "I don't fully understand," he admitted. Liara's smile grew, though it remained mysterious. "Perhaps you will in time. But for now, come. There is much to show you. Much to learn." With that, she turned and motioned for them to follow her. Nathan hesitated for a moment, exchanging glances with his crew. They were all as mesmerized as he was, but they followed without question. This was history unfolding before their eyes, and no one wanted to miss a moment of it. They walked together, following Liara through the alien forest. The trees seemed to part before them, creating a path that led deeper into the heart of the Ilithian world. As they moved, Nathan's mind raced. What had she meant by the strength of one's heart? The clarity of one's mind? He had seen beauty in other worlds before, but nothing like this. The Ilithians weren't just beautiful, they were extraordinary, in ways that went beyond physical appearance. After a short walk, they reached a clearing where a large, crystalline structure stood. It sparkled in the light of the twin suns, casting rainbows across the ground. Liara stopped in front of it and turned to face Nathan. "This is the heart of Elith," she said softly. "Here, all our knowledge is stored. It is both a library and a sanctuary for our people." Nathan felt a strange energy pulsing from the structure, a hum that resonated deep within his chest. It was unlike anything he had ever felt before. "Incredible," he murmured. Liara nodded. "It is a gift, one that has allowed our species to thrive for eons. But it is not just for us. We share our knowledge with those we deem worthy." "Worthy?" Nathan repeated, confused. "Yes," Liara answered. "You and your crew are here not just to observe, but to learn. But be warned, true knowledge comes at a cost. Are you willing to pay it, Captain?" Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. There was something in her voice, something in her words, that told him this was only the beginning. The true nature of the Ilithians and their gift was still a mystery. He looked at her, then at his crew. "We are here to learn. Whatever the cost may be, we're ready." "I ready." Liara's eyes gleamed with something unreadable. "Very well, Captain Cole. We will begin the first lesson soon. But remember this. Knowledge can be a powerful ally. It can also be a dangerous enemy." As the day faded into evening, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that the Ilithians had already begun to shape their destiny in ways he couldn't yet understand. Whatever came next, he knew one thing for sure. This mission was going to change humanity forever. Captain Nathan Cole stood at the edge of the clearing, his gaze still fixed on the gleaming crystalline structure that had once seemed so beautiful and peaceful. Yet, the longer he looked at it, the more he began to feel as if it were a force that was quietly watching him, waiting for something. The air around him seemed charged with an energy that he couldn't quite understand, and the humming of the crystal felt like it was vibrating through his very bones. "Are you ready?" Queen Liara's voice broke through his thoughts, soft but direct. She was standing beside him now, her silvery eyes fixed on the structure in front of them. Nathan nodded, though he wasn't sure if he was truly ready. They had come to this world to learn. But something about this place, and about Liara, felt different than anything he had ever experienced. It wasn't just the beauty or the grandeur of the place. There was an underlying sense of power here, a quiet force that seemed to move through the very air. He could almost feel it tugging at him, as though the planet itself were alive, aware of their presence. "Step forward," Liara instructed. Her voice was calm, but there was an authority in it that made Nathan's feet move without hesitation. He stepped forward, followed by his crew. As they approached the heart of Eleth, the crystal seemed to pulse in time with the beat of his heart. A strange warmth filled the air, and Nathan could feel his senses sharpen, his mind clearer than it had been in years. He glanced back at his crew. They were all staring at the crystal, some with awe, others with growing unease. Lieutenant Benson, who had always been the calm and steady one, looked nervous, her eyes flicking back and forth between the crystal and Nathan. Nathan didn't blame her. He felt it too, a strange, almost magnetic pull toward the structure. It was as if it were calling to them, inviting them to learn, to understand. But at what cost? "What is this?" Nathan asked, his voice a little hoarse as he tried to break the silence. Liara smiled, a smile that seemed to contain more mystery than it did comfort. "This is the heart of our knowledge, Captain. All that we have learned, all that we have discovered over countless centuries, is stored here. It is the reason we thrive. And it is the reason we have remained a peaceful people for so long." Nathan felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He wanted to ask more, but there was something in Liara's tone that told him this wasn't the time. The Alithians were not a species to be underestimated, and their knowledge came with a price that had yet to be fully revealed. "We have shared our knowledge with others," Liara continued, her gaze never leaving the structure. "But not all are ready for it. Some seek power, and power is not something that should be given freely." Nathan felt a shiver run down his spine. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. He had heard of races that had offered knowledge before, but nothing like this. The Alithians weren't just sharing facts or technologies, they were offering something far more profound. Something that could change the very essence of humanity. Before Nathan could respond, Liara raised her hand, signaling for the crew to gather around. Slowly, they moved in, encircling the crystal. Nathan stood directly in front of it, his heart pounding in his chest as he looked into the shifting patterns within the stone. It was like looking into the heart of the universe itself, swirling colors, glowing lights, and symbols that danced in and out of focus. "I will show you what lies within," Liara said, her voice soft but full of power. "But be warned, this knowledge is not easily given. It requires sacrifice." With that, she stepped closer to the crystal and placed her hand on its surface. At once, the entire clearing seemed to vibrate with energy. The crystal pulsed in a rhythm that matched the beat of Nathan's heart, and a wave of warmth spread through his body. He felt his thoughts sharpen, his senses heighten. The air seemed to thicken, pressing in around him. He felt something new, an awareness of everything around him. The planet, the stars, the very fabric of the universe itself. For a moment, Nathan lost himself in the sensation. He could hear the faint whisper of voices, soft and distant, as if they were calling to him from the edges of his mind. He closed his eyes, trying to focus. But the voices were growing louder now, more insistent. He felt a strange pull, a desire to understand, to reach out and grab the knowledge that was waiting for him. But at the same time, something inside him warned him to pull back. There was something dangerous about this. Something that didn't feel quite right. "Nathan!" Lieutenant Benson's voice broke through his haze, pulling him back to reality. He opened his eyes to find her staring at him, her face pale with worry. He shook his head, trying to clear the fog that had settled over his mind. The voices faded, and the pressure in the air lifted. "I'm fine," he muttered, though his voice didn't sound convincing even to him. The sensation of the crystal's power still lingered in the back of his mind, like a faint echo. Liara smiled, but this time, it was not the warm, inviting smile from earlier. This one was colder, more knowing, as if she had seen something in Nathan that he had not yet understood. "It has begun," she said softly, her eyes glowing with an eerie light. "The knowledge is now within you, Captain. You will begin to see the world differently, to understand things that were once beyond you. But with that comes a responsibility." Nathan swallowed hard. "What responsibility?" Liara's gaze held his, and for a moment, He saw something in her eyes, a deep, ancient sorrow. The knowledge of the Ilithians is not something to be taken lightly. It can change a species, elevate it, or destroy it. It depends on how you use it. He stared at her, his mind racing. What did she mean? How could something so powerful be controlled? The idea of having access to such knowledge was both intoxicating and terrifying. Was humanity ready for this? Was he ready for this? As if sensing his confusion, Liara continued, I do not expect you to understand fully, Captain, but you will, in time. This gift is not just about power. It is about seeing the universe for what it truly is, understanding the delicate balance between all things. Nathan wasn't sure what to say. He had always believed in the strength of humanity. He had fought for it, led his crew through countless challenges, always believing that humans could rise above any adversity. But now, faced with the Ilithian gift, he wasn't so sure. Was this power something they could control? Or would it consume them, as it had consumed other species before? The sound of footsteps interrupted his thoughts, and he turned to see his crew beginning to stir, looking around in confusion and wonder. Lieutenant Benson stepped closer, her eyes still wide with concern. Captain, what happened? She asked quietly. You looked different. Nathan didn't know how to answer. The truth was, he did feel different. There was a shift in him, a quiet change that he couldn't yet explain. The knowledge of the Ilithians was now inside him, swirling just beneath the surface of his mind, and he could feel it tugging at him, calling him to understand it more fully, but he didn't know what that would mean. Could he handle it? Could any of them? Before he could respond, Liara's voice broke through once more. The first lesson has been given. You are now connected to the heart of our knowledge, Captain. The choice you make now will determine your future and the future of your people. Nathan looked at her, feeling a sense of unease growing in the pit of his stomach. What had he gotten himself into? Follow me, Liara said, turning away from the crystal. There is more to see. But be careful, Captain. The path you walk now will not be an easy one. With that, she led them further into the depths of the Ilithian world, and Nathan followed, his mind racing. What had just happened? What had he agreed to? And what would the consequences be for humanity? As they walked, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that they had crossed a threshold, one from which there would be no return. The journey through the heart of Elith felt surreal to Captain Nathan Cole. The deeper they ventured into the planet, the more he realized that the landscape itself seemed to react to their presence. The trees, tall and elegant, shifted slightly as they passed, their branches swaying in rhythmic patterns, as if they were watching the humans. There was something almost alive about the environment, a sense that everything on this planet was interconnected in a way that was far beyond what Nathan had ever seen or understood. His mind raced, still trying to process the strange energy that had surged through him when he made contact with the Ilithian heart. He had felt it, a deep, unsettling power that had stirred something inside of him. His thoughts had sharpened, yes, but they had also become clouded with a new kind of awareness. A quiet hum that never seemed to stop. It was as if the knowledge of the Ilithians was seeping into his very bones, and no matter how hard he tried to push it away, it was there, tugging at him, calling to him. He glanced over at his crew, walking silently behind him. They all seemed to be affected in some way. Their faces pale, their eyes distant. Lieutenant Benson, ever the professional, seemed the most troubled. Her normally calm demeanor was replaced with an uneasy tension, her eyes darting around constantly, as if she expected something to happen at any moment. Captain, she spoke softly, almost as if hesitant to break the silence. Do you feel it? The pull, the way the planet feels. Different now? Nathan didn't answer immediately. He didn't want to admit it, but he felt it too. The planet, the crystal, it all felt like a part of him now, and it was beginning to feel like a burden, a weight he couldn't escape. I feel it, he finally said, his voice low. Benson nodded but didn't respond. She seemed lost in thought, her hand resting lightly on the sidearm at her waist, as if ready for something she couldn't yet explain. As they continued their trek through the dense forest, the air grew heavier, thicker with the same strange energy that had radiated from the heart. Nathan's instincts told him that they were getting closer to something important, something that would change everything. Finally, they arrived at their destination, a vast clearing, unlike any they had passed through before. The sky above was darkening, but it wasn't due to the setting sun. Instead, a thick fog was rolling in from the edges of the forest, swirling around the group like a living thing. In the center of the clearing stood another crystalline structure, this one much larger than the one they had seen before. It seemed to glow faintly, pulsing with an inner light, and as Nathan stepped closer, he could feel its power radiating in waves. "This is it." Liara's voice cut through the silence as she appeared beside him, almost as if she had materialized out of the mist itself. "This is the heart of the heart, the true source of our knowledge, our power." Nathan stood motionless, his gaze fixed on the structure. It was like nothing he had ever seen. The crystal shimmered with countless colors, all shifting and moving in ways that defied logic. It was as if the crystal was alive, breathing, pulsating with energy. His mind was drawn to it, a magnetic pull that made his thoughts scatter in all directions. His body itched with an overwhelming urge to touch it, to understand it completely, but a part of him hesitated. Something in the back of his mind screamed that this was too much. They were being offered power beyond anything they could imagine. But at what cost? "Why are you showing us this?" Nathan asked, his voice hoarse, barely above a whisper. "What is the true purpose of all of this?" Liara's expression was unreadable, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "You have felt it, haven't you, Captain? The shift, the change within you. It is not a gift without purpose. The knowledge we offer is not simply for learning. It is a path, one that leads to power, true power." Nathan's heart raced as he realized the truth of her words. The knowledge wasn't just about learning, it was about changing, evolving. He could feel it inside of him, the slow burn of something new taking root, something that wasn't human. The very essence of his being was shifting, expanding, growing in ways he couldn't control. "You said we have a choice," Nathan said, his voice tight. "What exactly does that mean? What happens if we decide not to accept whatever it is you're offering?" Quote, Liara stepped closer, her gaze locking with his. "There is always a choice. But not all choices are equal. Humanity has reached the edge of its potential. You have only scratched the surface of what is possible. The choice you face now is whether you will evolve or remain as you are, a species doomed to the limitations of your biology." Nathan clenched his fists, his mind racing. The idea of evolving, of breaking through the limits of humanity, was tempting. He had always believed in the strength of humanity. But he couldn't deny that the prospect of becoming something greater, something beyond human, was alluring. But he also knew that there was a dark side to all of this. The Elythians were offering them power, but that power came with a price. "We're not looking for power," Nathan said, his voice firm, trying to push back against the pull he felt inside. "We're here to learn. We want to understand, not to become something else." Liara's eyes softened, but there was no pity in them. "Understanding is the first step, Captain. But knowledge leads to power. It is inevitable. You can resist it, but it will change you nonetheless." Nathan took a step back, feeling the weight of her words settle on him. There was no escaping it. The path they were on was leading them somewhere, and whether they liked it or not, they had already crossed a line. The question now was whether they would embrace it or try to turn back. Before he could speak again, the ground beneath them trembled. It was a low rumble at first, like the planet itself was awakening. The crystal in the center of the clearing pulsed faster, brighter, and the fog around them thickened, swirling violently, as though something was forcing its way through from below. Nathan turned to Liara, his voice urgent. "What's happening? What is this?" Tan, the Elythian queen, didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stared at the crystal, her expression tense. "The Zarna," she said, her voice barely audible over the growing rumble. "They have found us." The predators we spoke of, your true test has come. They are the reason we offer you this gift. Nathan's blood ran cold. The Zarna, an ancient, mind-eating species, feared by all who knew their name. He had heard the stories, but he had never believed them. Now, standing on this alien world, he realized they weren't just stories. The threat was real. As if on cue, the fog parted, revealing dark shapes moving through the mist, twisted, alien figures, their eyes glowing with malevolent intelligence. Their bodies seemed to flicker in and out of existence, like shadows that couldn't quite hold shape. There were dozens of them, maybe more, closing in from all sides. Nathan's heart pounded in his chest as the reality of their situation sank in. "Prepare yourselves," he shouted to his crew, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped him. He drew his sidearm. But deep down, he knew that weapons wouldn't stop whatever these creatures were. They were something else, something beyond anything humanity had faced. Liara turned to face the incoming threat, her expression hardening. "The Xarna have been hunting us for millennia. They feed on fear, on the minds of those who cannot resist them. You will need more than guns to survive this, Captain." As the first of the Xarna lunged forward, a blood-curdling screech splitting the air, Nathan felt something deep within him stir. The power, the knowledge, the very essence of what the Alithians had given him, it was there, just beneath the surface, waiting to be unleashed. And for the first time, he understood the true cost of the gift. Captain Nathan Cole's heart pounded in his chest as the dark, shifting shapes of the Zarna closed in on him and his crew. The creatures, their bodies flickering like shadows, seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. They were everywhere now, moving quickly through the thick fog, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans. Nathan could feel the weight of their presence, a crushing, oppressive force that made his skin crawl. "Stay together," Nathan shouted, his voice rising above the growing sound of the creature's movements. His hand tightened around his sidearm, but he knew it wouldn't be enough. The Zarna were no ordinary enemy. He had heard the stories, their power to invade minds, to consume memories and fear. He had no idea how they would fight them off. Beside him, Lieutenant Benson was scanning the clearing, her face pale with worry. "Captain, we can't fight them like this," she said, her voice shaking. "They're not just physical. They invade your mind." Nathan nodded grimly. He had felt it too, the faint whispers in his mind, the pull of their presence. He could almost hear their voices, distant and menacing, probing his thoughts. But there was something more, something new inside him, a power that had awakened after his contact with the Alithian crystal. "We're not going to fight them the way we think," Nathan said, turning to face Liara. The Alithian queen stood tall, calm as ever, her eyes glowing with an ancient knowledge. She hadn't moved an inch since the Zarna appeared, but Nathan could see the tension in her posture. She knew something they didn't. "The Zarna feed on fear," Liara said softly, her voice carrying over the growing tension. "They are ancient predators, capable of invading your mind and consuming your thoughts. But you have something they don't. You have the gift of the heart, the knowledge, the power. If you can control it, you can resist them. You can fight back." Nathan's pulse quickened. The heart, the crystal, the knowledge that had changed them all. He could feel it inside him now. That strange energy, that whispering awareness. It was both a curse and a blessing. Could it really help them now? The first Zarna lunged from the fog, its body twisting unnaturally as it moved. Its mouth opened wide, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth, and Nathan instinctively raised his weapon. But before he could fire, Liara stepped forward. With a single motion, she extended her hand toward the creature, and the air around them seemed to shimmer. The Xarna screeched, its body contorting as if caught in an invisible grip. "It's not just about strength," Liara said, her voice low but commanding. "It's about understanding. You must feel the power of the heart. See beyond the physical." Nathan stared at her, his mind racing. Was this what she meant? Was this the true power of the knowledge they had been given? He had felt the pull of something greater than his own mind, something deeper, more ancient. Could he tap into it? Before he could answer his own question, another Zarna attacked, this one coming from the shadows. It was faster, more aggressive, and Nathan barely had time to react before it was upon them. But this time, he didn't hesitate. He closed his eyes, just for a moment, and reached out with his mind. He could feel it, the knowledge, the power flowing through him, pulling him in. It was as though the entire universe had opened up to him, showing him the connections between everything, the hidden threads that tied life together. For a moment, Nathan felt like he was part of something much bigger, something beyond the limitations of his human body. The Zarna lunged at him, but Nathan was ready. With a sudden surge of energy, he raised his hand, and the creature froze mid-motion, its body trembling as if caught in some invisible force. The air around him seemed to thicken, crackling with raw power. The Zarna let out a high-pitched screech as it struggled, but Nathan held it in place, feeling the energy surge through him like a wave crashing against the shore. "Captain!" Lieutenant Benson shouted. "What are you doing?" Nathan opened his eyes, his gaze fixed on the creature. "I'm using it," he said, his voice calm but filled with awe. "The power. It's inside me. Inside all of us." He could feel it now, every movement of the creature, every thought, every flicker of its presence. The knowledge, the gift of the heart, was not just about power. It was about connection. The Zarna weren't just mindless monsters. They were sentient, aware, and their power was rooted in fear. But Nathan knew now that fear wasn't something they had to succumb to. He could control it. He could control them. With a final surge of energy, Nathan forced the Zarna back, sending it flying into the fog. The creature screeched in fury but did not return. The others in the clearing paused, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, the change in the balance of power. But Nathan knew this wasn't over. There were still more creatures out there, more threats to face. And they weren't just fighting for their lives, they were fighting for their humanity. The power of the heart, the gift of the Ilithians, was changing them. Yes, but would it be enough to protect them from what lay ahead? Liara stepped forward, her gaze steady and calm. "Well done, Captain. You have begun to understand. But this is only the beginning. The Xarna are but one threat. The true challenge lies ahead." Nathan's heart sank. "What do you mean?" I thought we could use this power to fight back, to defeat them." "You have the power, yes," Liara said, her voice carrying the weight of ancient knowledge. "But power alone is not enough. The true test is not in defeating the Xarna. It is in what you do with this gift, what you choose to become." Nathan looked at her, confusion flickering in his eyes. "What are you saying?" "We've already changed. We're not the same as we were when we first landed here. We've evolved. We've gained the strength to fight back." Liara's eyes darkened slightly, her expression hardening. "You have gained power, but at what cost? The heart can elevate a species to greatness, but it can also destroy them. The knowledge is vast, but it can corrupt. You must ask yourselves, will you use this gift to protect the galaxy, or will you let it consume you?" Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. The doubt that had been creeping into his mind ever since he had first touched the crystal flared up once more. Could humanity handle this? Could they wield this power without losing themselves in the process? He turned to his crew. They were all standing together now, their faces a mix of awe and fear. They had changed, just like he had. But none of them knew what to do with this new power. They were stronger, faster, more aware. But at what cost? They had barely begun to understand the true extent of the gift they had received, and already it felt like a weight they couldn't bear. "We don't have a choice, do we?" Benson said quietly, her voice trembling. "The Ilithians have already shown us the path. There's no turning back." Liara's gaze shifted to her, her expression unreadable. "That is true. The path you walk now will lead you to either greatness or destruction. It is up to you to choose." Nathan took a deep breath, his mind racing. There was no going back. The power was within them now, and whether they wanted it or not, they were part of something much bigger than themselves. "We're not going to let it destroy us," Nathan said firmly. "We'll find a way to control it. We'll use it for good. For humanity." But even as he spoke the words, a small part of him wondered if they were already too far gone to turn back. The future was uncertain, and the gift they had been given was both a blessing and a curse. The Xarna were only the beginning. There were greater challenges ahead, and they would have to face them, not just with the power of the heart, but with the strength of their will. As the fog began to clear, and the stars above began to shine through the darkening sky, Nathan knew that the journey ahead would not be easy. But whatever came next, he and his crew would face it together. They had become something more than human, and now, they had to decide what that meant.